top left spawning as the blue Zerg player. It is going to be Solar.
And his opponent, the highest seed player in this group, playing for Team Africa Freaks, it's TY.
Uh-oh, Lambo. We're seeing an SCV being sent out at the same time as the barracks. Now, this could be a very early scout, but experience tells me that this probably isn't going to be the case. So we see a second SCV being sent out as well. The thoughts of Proxy Reaper disappear out of my mind. And we're going to be looking at what seems to be a 2-Rex, right? Very far away, though. Holy
Very
cow.
far away. I mean, he's definitely going to mine out the minerals there with the two SCVs, but it is very far away. I have never seen a Proxy Rex this far away, and I know that Solar likes to go drone scout and then pull before gas, usually. And I've talked a little bit with Solar before this. He told me he was mainly worried about 8 Rex on this map. So he did not expect this, at least. He thinks that this is one of the better Terran maps right now. But he's obviously scouting for it, and he's not going to find it.
Far.
Which, yeah.
Holy cow, he's going far. He's going to go to the bridge. I mean, this is really as far as you're going to get, right? He hasn't scouted a big part of the right side either, so he gambled pretty much that it was going to be here. And TY was like, no, I know your drone scouting patterns. I know where to go. Now, come on, TY. Yes, take the correct minerals. I'm pretty sure I've seen someone do this before and then take the wrong minerals with the second SCV. And it's a very sad moment. I can't quite remember where it was. I'm glad to see that TY has prepared well and knows exactly what to do. You see the SCV Reaper.
So this is hitting very late, and the entire point of this is that it remains unscouted, and TY is just going to try to focus down a bunch of drones. Now, drone scouting against this makes it worse because now he has a couple less minerals and he still finished his gas, so that's bad for Solar. And on top of that, he doesn't know if it's a 2-Rex or a 3-Rex, so he's making a spine crawler. If he just put, let's say, 8 drones and then pushed the Marines back a little bit, delayed the bunker, he could have went in with the Zerglings and drones together as he's doing it right now. And then he did not really need the spine crawler. So even if you just lose a couple of drones, this is not too great for Solar. Losing 3 already, and the Reaper. Now he sees the Reaper, he should cancel the spine, I think.
No, doesn't cancel the spine bunker. It does get cancelled though. CC gets built on the low ground, of course. With those Reapers alive, you do get some type of map control. It's going to be hard for a bunch of slowlings to move across the map. Well, pretty much impossible if you know how to control the Reaper. And I'm pretty sure TY does know that. Manages to snipe the Overlord as well with a barracks float, which is kind of a cute move here. Factory is already going down at home as well, and I'm kind of liking this position here for TY.
Yeah. I think this really goes to show, right in the first game that TY plays, that he really relies on heavy preparation. He's really good at preparing for his opponents. He knew where Solar was going to scout, and he probably knew his response. Otherwise, this is not very good, even if it doesn't get scouted. If the Zerg assumes it's a 2-Rex, because of how far away it is, you lose very little mining time from the drones. So even though it's a 2-Rex, you can lose a couple of drones. So if there wasn't a spine, I think this, no matter what, always ends up pretty bad. And sometimes the Zerg can even finish the speed if they see it that late. In which case you couldn't place a CC on the low ground. So definitely good preparation by TY, who maybe is not the most known for his micro or something like Maru or Bian and the multitasking, even though he obviously also is very, very good in that regard.
Yeah, usually he does like to win games with some heavy preparation. Either finish in the early game or go into a very powerful mid-game timing push. Doesn't mean that he doesn't know how to play the late game, of course. Positionally very strong as well, but not as focused usually on micro as a player like Bian, like Maru is. See a 30C coming down here for TY. And it seems he's also keeps on producing a couple of Hellions, I guess, just for some map control. He's gonna get a Viking. It's a very kind of a weird setup or an awkward setup, right, that you have now as a Terran, but he should be used to it.
Yeah, the one thing that's a little bit annoying here is that you can't really move out with the Hellions because you don't have a wall, since he needed to put the first 3 depots in the main, and since he went for a 3CC, he doesn't need any extra depots early on. Now Solar actually saw that barracks was floating above the factory, so he should know that he stops after 4 Hellions. And even though he's not going to get the confirmation with that Overlord, he sees Viking, and there's a a barracks floating on top of the factory already, this leads towards believing that there is going to be 2 early medevacs. So this is what you can read from simply seeing the barracks float there. I think even TY, even though he's extremely smart, he wouldn't fake a barracks in case there's a link float. Yeah.
That would be big, though. He'll listen to this cast, do it next time he plays against you. We have 2 eBays coming down for TY is also going to be going into his standard 1-1. Still on 2 racks, 3 racks should be added relatively soon as well. Baling is finishing up on the side of Solar, and as he's getting a layer, are we looking at some mutas here or fast Baling speed? What is this exactly?
So from now it can still be anything. The thing is that he initially expected TY to go 8 racks, and then I've talked with him about what he asked me what I think the best response is, and that was Ling Bane. But since that early game is already very different, he might switch it up completely and go for Aspire, as you said before. He obviously likes to play Muta. Most of the replays that I've seen of him were Muta games. And he's already on 5 gas. The one adjustment that he made is that he didn't take the forward base, and he's gonna try to expand towards the top bases eventually, because they're further away from wherever the Ajax push usually comes in. But for now, he first needs to defend this push.
Yeah, it doesn't look super massive, but it's doing some damage already. There's no Banelings here to clean it up. Spine was slightly out of position as well. A couple of drones going down. Banelings now will start sprinkling in, and TY will probably get pushed back. I say it, and a lot of the Marines are still alive. Tank barely doesn't die. Spine once again moves into a different position, but 11 drones have gone down during this, and honestly, it's not looking too hot for Solar all of a sudden. No forward base yet either. Creep spread, especially on the right side, looking very meager right now. And somehow these 7 Marines are still alive.
Yeah, that was really, really bad for Solar. Just to show how good this build is that TY is playing right now, I would never expect a tank Marine Hellion push coming at this timing from a normal 3cc opener, and he opened with proxy 2 racks into 3cc, and he still hit this early. Now, what he didn't have is obviously a big Marine count, but it was still super hard for Solar to engage because he had no units coming from behind, and you said it, he sprinkled the Banelings, and then they kind of just died one by one. So the trade overall, massively favorable for TY, and he's in a very, very sizable lead now.
Yeah, we have a double drop heading towards the 4th base. Good target fire on the first Baneling, gets the second one as well, but then doesn't want to risk it and picks up as Baneling 3 and 4. We're about to get some big hits in. Now 1-1 has finished up for TY. Solar is still on a single. No, he's 2 evos, but just has a single evo working. As I say that, of course, he starts his +1 melee as well. There's a couple of Marines on the left side still, though. If they get this queen as well, there will be no creep spreading queens anymore. Hell, there won't even be a queen left for the 4th to inject on. Like, this is looking really rough, and TY actually snipes every single Baneling there as well. This is not looking good here for Solar.
Yeah, absolutely not. And he is expecting the Atrax, and as I said before, he's just going Ling Bane purely, without any extra attack, which is usually the best to do from behind, but TY just went into an early 4th, and he's going for a Widow Mine, so that what TY is doing is on top of the position he's already in, the perfect response to what Solar is doing. So yeah, so Solar needs to basically kill an entire army for free to even this out somehow. TY actually made a little bit of a mistake there with forgetting his +2 attack, also starting the armor first. I'm not sure why the Korean talents all do that, but that apparently is a thing in their muscle memory. So now he's pushing again at the same time as he's dropping in the main base. And all of this is obviously off creep as well, so Solar can't... this was not even a cancel, he lost the hatchery here. The 5th base. And well, he needs to clear this up. It's now or never, and he's trying to go forward. Good focus fire with tank. 1 Baneling only remains from the bottom. All the links are cleared up, and I do not think that Solar will stay into this for too much longer, to be honest.
Yeah, I have a bad feeling for Solar about this as well. Down 50 supply right now. TY pushing forward with 8 Marines. The fact that Solar is struggling with cleaning those up basically tells the tale here, as if we go back to the base of TY, he has a bunch of units just standing there in between those natural and the 3rd base. The 4th has landed, planetary is done. There is a double drop heading towards the top side as well. Mine will hit. Actually we'll take out 2 drones there. Cute little retarget coming out of TY, who's very, very good at these small little engagements that he's doing. We said, well, perhaps he's not that well known for his micro, but his multitasking definitely is on point, and his target fire so far has also been good. These Marines stay alive on top of that 3rd base, and Solar taps out, says, you know what, let's just head into the next game. This has absolutely no use, and I kind of feel it. You know, I I understand why he would do that.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, if you start falling behind as a Zerg, usually you're supposed to have plenty then units to split up and beat both of the drops. But he just kept running from one drop to another because he couldn't split up his army since he just didn't have any Zerglings. And it feels like you're getting outplayed, but realistically, there's nothing you can do with the way that TY played it. So yeah, TY, brilliant build order and execution, and gets mostly a strategic victory in game number 1.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Very nice to see this level of preparation, of course, for a World Championship. Not exactly surprising that we see the players do their absolute best here. But yeah, that was a really cool build order. That 2 racks with the follow-up, with the Reapers, and solid, nice little tank push that just did way too much. Then from there on out, it's very funny because if you're not paying attention to the early game, you go like, wow, TY is absolutely out multitasking Solar. And I'm sure there's some people right now who are watching this, man, there's no way Solar wins game number 2. But this kind of just snowballs into into a loss there. I mean, he had no creep, and it's just really that first push that kind of does him in. It doesn't really necessarily have a massive effect on the next game, or at least it shouldn't. In my opinion, whenever you have a loss like this, as a player, it's relatively easy to pinpoint, okay, this is the moment it went wrong, and you kind of forget about the rest. Like, it's really bad if you get tilted after that point, basically. So and I think Solar is good enough to know that. He is experienced enough, of course, a previous DreamHack winner as well. I think he won DreamHack Stockholm at least once. Fun fact, by the way, I believe with that win, that TY now actually tied up the map score overall, 77-77.
Oh, wow, the preparation.
Yeah, I could also be wrong, and that TY was up 1. I just remember that it was 1 map difference. I was like, yeah, that's funny. No matter who wins the first map, I'm gonna throw this in.
Very nice. Okay.
Very nice. Uh-oh.
Well, there's an SCV leaving. Well, let's do the introductions first real quick. You need to go somewhere.
In the bottom right, spawning as the red Terran player. It is playing for Africa Freaks. It's going to be TY.
Yep. And his opponent, the blue Zerg player, drone scouting again, playing for Team Kaizi Gaming. It is Solar.
Team Kaizi Gaming Solar. Now, let's see if Solar goes. Oh yes, look at that rally point, Lambo. Look at that rally point by Solar. No, he cancels the rally point.
Yeah, he wants to check down, but I think he's still gonna go there.
Solar?
Yeah, usually you always do this, and then you do it a little bit more exact, precise.
No.
Oh no! Again, this is worst case because you lose minerals doing this. So your actual defense is worse if you drone scout and don't see it. That's the absolute worst case scenario. Also, you're a little bit more. You're not ready mentally anymore if you scout for like very far away. He actually scouts very far away. You're not mentally ready and prepared for Marines and SCVs showing up at your natural usually.
This Overlord Dome might actually get a little bit of a heads up. So at least he also goes back with that.
Well, he's gonna see it anyways.
Yeah, he's gonna see the SCV come from a weird angle. It's like, hey, I don't think your main base is over there. So what have you built? And the answer is 2 barracks. Now he doesn't know that it's 2 racks yet. It could still potentially be 3 racks. We see 2 drones being pulled already.
He didn't cancel the gas. He thinks this might be a fake, and now he realizes it's not.
Once again, the Reaper follow-up. No spine being built so far, though. So that is better right here for Solar.
Yeah, this is better. He, again, tries to zone out the Marines. He might get us around on 1 really good micro by TY. He gets 3 drones for only 1 Marine, even a 4th drone. This already is looking really rough again. 5 drones down. Oh, and he's still chasing. I think he chased for way too long. 6, 7 drones. Make it stop. No. Solar. And these are just best of 3s. And the thing is, usually, if you're the only Zerg player in a group, you feel good about it because your opponents might not prepare as well for the matchup, TVZ specifically, since there are 4 Terrans, for example, in this group. But one other thing that very often happens is that because they don't go for general TVZ practice, they try to do snipe builds. And since it's best of 3s, you can kind of come up quite easily with 2 or 3 different builds that you want to play for specific maps. So, for example, he didn't veto Lightshade, and then he thought it was a good idea to 2 racks. And once again, he ended up ahead. This game, though, following up with a CC on the high ground, which is a little bit a little bit safer of an approach, and it's a little bit worse economically for TY. So not just as good, but the follow-up looks exactly the same as the game before. Other than that,
Yeah, but the 7 drones are painful, of course. And for the people who are just tuning in, or for the people who were already tuned in, and we're looking at our lovely faces for the first minute and a half of this game, basically what happened is that Solar barely missed the proxy racks here on the bottom. And then you guys saw the end of the 2 racks, okay? It's not that bad. Oh my god, I thought I clicked the hotkey on. I'm very sorry for that. But
do you not have a second monitor, or
I don't have a second monitor. It's a rookie move. It's a rookie move. But 2 Reapers are out here on the map as Speed hasn't finished yet. It's about to finish, so this Reaper should probably head back home. You have a command center on the high ground finishing up. Is this going to be Banshee or... I'd love a Raven, but I know it's going to be Banshee. I feel like everyone else, except the people that play this matchup, always want to see a Raven, because you can clear creep so easily. But in reality, it's not really that good. But I just love to see a Raven with Reapers. It just makes me happy when it happens.
Yeah, the thing obviously why Twitch chat thinks it's great is that it brings value over time, but realistically you kind of lose it with your first push most of the time. And if there is enough queens, you can't even punish the creep spread. Really, it also is not safe. So there's many downsides to the Raven. Also, it takes a long time to produce. It costs 200 gas. So it usually delays either tanks or medevacs. So overall, a lot of downsides to the Raven. And yeah, this game, by the way, TY went for a very, very similar follow-up. And then instead of the Viking, because last game his follow-up was very greedy, he goes for the Banshee to counter a potential like Roachling attack. So TY always does like these smart variations as well. So not exactly the same build. And this game going for a safer version.
Okay, cool. We see triple spore going down here for Solar. I looked at the drone count for a second. I was like, holy crap, it's like 47 against 30. But then Solar had to start building an Evo chamber, a Baneling nest, and he threw down like 3 spores. And I was like, oh, never mind. This looks all good again for the Terran. This is still relatively playable though for Solar, right? Like he might have lost 7 drones in the early game, but his creep spread is looking okay. I mean, the Hellions haven't really done anything. This is fine. You're gonna be... This is pretty much standard almost, no?
Yeah, this looks relatively standard, slightly better for Terran than usual, but the timings will work out very similarly. Whereas last game, the first 2 medevacs arrived and Solar didn't even have a 4th base, and he just kind of lost at his 3rd base, which it should never happen. This game, he's gonna start a 4th base as the 2 medevacs are out and are gonna move out. So that's... It will look much more like TVZ is supposed to look. These are so early, the first 2 medevacs. They're actually insanely early. For like a 3cc Banshee follow-up?
Yeah, from a 2-Rex proxy. That's crazy.
Yeah, like if I wouldn't have seen that it was a 2-Rex proxy, I would not be able to tell in hindsight.
Yeah. Does he delay the 1-1 a bit for it, or what's the player? I guess he has less Marines.
He's making less Hellions and only 1 starport unit. And yeah, those are the main things that speed it up.
Okay. 3 Hellions are here. Is there an armory? No, there's not. So these guys will just stay as Hellions. There's a single tank here. And once again, we have this push forward. Is there a Baneling ready yet? No, there's 10 Banelings on the way. Baneling speed not done yet. Good push forward here coming out of TY. It feels like Solar is just not prepared every single time. And the speed and how hard these pushes are hitting is really surprising him here. He does have creep. And this time there's a lot of Banelings. But they're just getting sniped. It feels like Solar is once again struggling holding.
Yeah, this again already is a good trade for TY, but I think the cleanup shouldn't be too difficult since there is only 1 medevac left, and these Marines do not have combat shields, nor do they have 1-1, so I believe if Solar just wants to go now and pre-splits the 2 Banelings that he has, he should be fine.
Oh, he didn't pre-split the Banelings. Lings are getting kited back into a little nuke. Tank does end up falling, but 2 extra tanks join up, and I thought TY was going to be done with this position, maybe pivot towards the 4th base. Definitely not the case, as he's moving towards the bottom side here. Oi, oi, oi.
Yeah, this is one thing that you do when you realize as the turn that the Zerg is rallying all the units that he has at home to defend it. So now TY didn't need to keep anything at home because he realized, okay, the Zerg is struggling to defend, there is no way there is a counterattack happening. And he just moved forward with the rest of his Marines and tanks. And even though there is only 1 medevac and all the Marines are low, as a Zerg, it's so difficult to engage this. Both tanks are split up. and they're getting great value. He's just barely doesn't have enough to crush, and at the same time, at the top, there's a job coming into the fort base of Solar, picking off a couple of drones, and starting to fight the hatchery. Oh.
Yeah, Combat Shield is finally about to finish up at 8 minutes and 35 seconds in the game. TY rocking a small lead here once again, a real small lead, a pretty decent lead actually. His fort base is done already as well. Solar is only on 64 workers. Down in upgrades as well. This time we do see +2 starting before +2 attack starting before +2 armor. Drilling claws on the way, and Solar is gonna be going into Lurker. At least that's his dream. And Lurker can kind of be the great equalizer in this type of situation, where if you get those Lurkers out, it can kind of stabilize. Then you maybe can start making some plays. But for now, it's still very tight, as the Baneling count isn't that high. His creep is looking fine, so that's the one thing that he kind of has going for him, but the micro of TY has been fantastic so far today.
Yeah, this is the first time where Solar came from behind and picked off the tank the moment the Marines stepped too far forward. So this was really good awareness. This is what he should have done a little bit earlier as well. TY over pulling SCVs a little bit from its third base there. But that's okay. He also has a lot of energy on his orbital, so he can drop down a lot of mutes if he wants to. So overall, obviously, Solar is very far away from those Lurkers. You see the Lurker and the Hive starting, but the Lurkers without the upgrades are very bad against Terran. So
yeah, especially Seismic Spines, right? That's going to be a real game changer here. Of course, adding 2 range to that Lurker from 8 to 10. After that, the adaptive talents are important for that quick burrow in case you want to chase armies. But for just keeping a position, the Seismic Spines is going to be the most important one. We see Hive is almost finished, that Lurker then almost finished, but Solar still has a lot of time that he needs to kind of kill here, where he's like, okay, I can't die right now. Now, luckily for him, the map is Lightshade, which at times feels very tricky for the Terran to push into.
However, he does abuse the ledge very well here, up on the close to the fort base of Solar. Now, TY actually made a bunch of mistakes here, and that's why the supply is getting way closer. He lost a medevac at the third of Solar, basically for free, and he lost the full medevac behind the main base to a queen as well. So he just lost 20 supply basically for free, and now he's pushing away from his tank. So now Solar can also clean up that tank if he wants, and the game is getting very well playable from this point, which it really wasn't before. Before the game was kind of over, but Solar managing to turn it around here with very good army splits, to be honest, and just catching TY when he's not looking at the right position at the right time.
Alright, Seismic Spines on the way, Vipers are starting as well. Solar wants to get these out rather quickly. Why is that? Why does he get the Vipers before he wants to morph in any Lurkers? There's not that high of a tank count, is there?
Yeah, but he doesn't know yet that there's Widow Mines. So he thinks his opponent is still playing tanks, which also makes a lot of sense since he's going into Hydras himself. But TY started making very late Widow Mines, and now he's switching back into tanks himself. So it is what you usually do if you're playing against tanks, and you see there's also no Widow Mines left anymore, because the Blinding Cloud is obviously huge against the tank timings, much more so than the Lurkers, because tanks do outrange Lurkers.
Yeah.
So you will need to go for a direct fight eventually against tank timings. So I like the choice of going for Vipers first.
Oh, we see a scan coming out of TY here on the bottom base as well. This is the 5th base of Solar. The reason he took this 5th base, I assume, is because that ledge just keeps getting abused over and over, and he doesn't really have the creep up to that top side 5th. I thought that was the more common 5th, right?
Yeah, on this map you can, in general, just expand to wherever you have more creep. For example, if you had no creep at the top at all, you could have even taken the bottom one as the 4th, which he initially wanted, and then the 5th next to it.
Oh, wow. I was not aware of that. I guess you kind of disable the ledge in that way. Now we see the Lurkers in position, Seismic Spines has finished, and the Vipers are out. And this is a setup that makes that kind of changes the pace of the game, because really the Lurker is the only unit in the Zerg arsenal that can push into Terran. There is counter-attack potential. If you don't have enough tanks, if you don't have a good enough setup as a Terran, it is possible to die. And that counter-attack potential can be very dangerous. The moment you lose kind of the momentum as a Terran against Lurkers, there is the risk that the Zerg just moves across the map and basically sieges one of your planetaries. That's something you definitely don't want to happen.
Yeah. I'm really impressed with the way Solar is defending everything. Even though TY is sometimes getting pickoffs, TY is losing a lot of his harassment units. And the position now compared to the position of 5 minutes ago has changed drastically to the point where I still believe that TY is ahead by quite a bit because he has so many extra CCs already. This is basically where you see his lead in, because he invested so much into extra infrastructure. He also already has 4 factories producing tanks, and he already has Ghost on the way before the Zerg has his 3-3 out even. So TY is still ahead, but this is getting very, very exciting here.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like TY also is working towards a more passive army at this point. We see a bunch of tanks and ghosts all being added, and he's kind of content just staying at home for now, right? He doesn't really feel the need to do as much anymore, and this opens up the opportunity for Solar to potentially do any type of attack. The problem for him is right now he doesn't really have a big bank. He doesn't have a lot of gas. He's on, what is it, 8 gas right now? Yeah, I think we count 8 gas. And his lurker count is only at 5. He's actually very Hydra Bane heavy still, or especially Baneling heavy, I'd say.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think that's a good way also of coming back against someone that plays Tank Ghost, because he's gonna have Tank Ghost for sure if he was ahead by the time you have the lurkers, and lurkers don't trade too well. So you rather want to go for the army that can go for the straight up fight. I don't think running up the ramp here is the right call at all, and he gets instantly punished for it. He obviously did start getting a bank a little bit, and now he needs to immediately morph extra lurkers to just not simply die.
Big run by on the other side of the map though. 11 workers going down already. Lynx and Banelings wreaking havoc in the Terran economy. Well, I say wreaking havoc, but apparently TY was on 86 workers, so losing 16 isn't that big of a deal. Especially if you're also working with a decent orbital count, which is on 6, which I'd be pretty happy with that if I was a Terran player. He just instantly rebuilds a bunch of those SCVs, but I actually think Solar kind of did him a favor there, because I think 86 might be a bit too much, a bit too high in SCVs, especially if you have that many orbitals as well.
Yeah. He's actually making an extra planetary at the fort base as well, and the one cool thing is that he actually took out the sensor tower. So for now, TY needs to pre-split his army, which he didn't need to do before he could reactively react to these run-bys and come back home with parts of his army, since Lightshed is very small. But since there is no sensor tower at the bottom part of the map, he needs to have these bio units that you're showing right now in this area, at least until the new sensor tower finishes. He keeps making sensor towers at the front, which is really, really cool. Even though he lost it before. Now he's doing it again, and he sees that there is no detection with the Vikings. Really cool move. So now he goes forward, and all of those lurkers are so expensive, and Solar cannot afford to lose them for free here.
Yeah, I lost a bunch of lurkers there. The lurker count was, I think, almost at 18 or 15, 16 at least. Tanks on the high ground still protecting. I'm not even sure what to call this area. A little passway between where Solar wants to go and where TY's army is. Now the top base of Solar is going to end up falling here, and big counterattack coming out of Solar, but the planetary and 3 tanks, man. TY is extremely well prepared. He's rebuilding his sensor tower as well. We see a big drop loading up into the main base as well, and Solar isn't quite in position there. Lurkers are staying strong at his, what was this, his 4th base? But I think he's losing his main.
No, he did get 3-3 and all the lurker upgrades, but he won't be able to produce Vipers for a while, and he can't transition into Broodlords if that was ever his plan, which I don't think it was. Now TY knows that this army of his is always gonna trade decently, and hold that thought, because Solar wants to fight again, and he wants to go up this ramp. There is barely any bio units here, so I think the Ling Bane will be decently effective, but you're running into so many tanks with pre-split ghosts. And even though he will clear this up, it will be pretty expensive. Now, if we look at the bank of TY, it's actually also pretty much gone. But the thing is that as a Zerg, you can't push forward as easily. And even if you kill a base, you can just replace it with all the extra CCs that he has. So, yeah, I like that he's going back and just trying to morph extra lurkers with all the gas that he has.
Yeah, I like that. And maybe afterwards, maybe after the next fight, he can try and go for a counterattack. Because if you only have 5 lurkers, that doesn't really quite do enough against the planetary usually, especially if the Terran is getting tanks and ghosts as well. We'll see how TY decides to defend this though, because now this is what? This is 19 lurkers, and TY does the age-old trick of just lifting up his base. That's a cute one.
Yeah, and Solar is obviously scared that there is going to be a push at the bottom as well at some point, and he has barely any units there. I'm very surprised he's not pre-spilling more towards the bottom. Now he's gonna... Okay, most of his mobile army, so everything besides the lurkers, is going to the bottom trying to defend, but this hatchery will most likely die. So a base for a base, worth of the nice. Obviously both players immediately retaking it. And I do expect both of these bases to be mined out by each player. I think a big part of this game is going to come down to, can Solar defend his top base? And then afterwards, can he deny the bottom base of TY?
Alright, now that there's a planetary, Solar wants to have another shot at it. Throws a couple of parasitic bombs on those Vikings. Well, a couple, just one. Lurkers, meanwhile, absolutely clear that base. Like their life depended on it real fast. That top base still not really covered by creep. The hive is being rebuilt right now, so Vipers will be an option that will once again be on the table. Oh man, is this a nuke? Yeah, this is a nuke.
Well, this optimistic nuke is what it is, since it's right next to them, maybe. What are you searching for? Oh, the Ghost Academy.
The Ghost Academy.
I'm looking at your camera and I'm like, well, should we watch the Ghost die or?
Nah, I knew the Ghost was going to die, but I know in the future there might be another nuke, and I want to catch it like the guy in GSL does, man.
Oh, did you screen out yet?
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, we have another push out here with these almost characteristic sensor towers. I don't think I've seen anyone else do this very much in TVZ. And as I say that, instead of getting a sensor tower, he queues up another turret.
Yeah, I think a sensor tower here is not that great, but the one in the middle tracked the entire army movement of Solar. Every time his run-by came back, TY was notified immediately, and then he could retreat up that ramp, which was really cool, I thought. He has a lot of tanks doing nothing here in the middle of nowhere, and he's trying to nuke again, and Solar is gonna break this this location. There's barely any bio units, and there's also no Widow Mines or anything like that. Now, obviously, there's nothing that can just clear this orbital, so now that it's not a planetary anymore, he can just lift it. But he needs to retreat towards the tanks. I think Solar is overextending a little bit here.
Oh yeah, I don't think he expected there to be 6 tanks just kind of chilling at this area.
At the bottom,
honestly,
at the same time.
Ooh, bottom at the same time as well. Big bio force trying to take out these bases. Yeah, Solar definitely overextending there a little bit and getting kind of blasted.